Hi guys, I'm over here with another poorly lidded but fun story based video with you guys. So Halloween is coming up pretty soon, and so I thought I'd share with you guys some 10 scary moments from my life. Now these are no in particular order, they're just in the order that I thought of them, so they're not like worst to best or anything like that. So let's get right on into it. Okay, so one Halloween when I was really little, I want to say it was like one of the first few years that I went trick-or-treating at this house, because before we lived at this house we lived at another house, so I want to say I was like 6 or 7. So we went trick-or-treating I went trick-or-treating with my mom, and we went to this one house, and so I ring the doorbell, say trick or treat and stuff, and all of a sudden this guy jumps out of like freaking nowhere, and he has a chainsaw and he's like running toward me. I scream like bloody murder, of course, and like run, like start getting out of there. Of course it was a joke, because apparently it's considered funny to scare little girls on Halloween, who find like even little things scary. But yeah, so that was like the first scary memory that I have. The next memory that I wrote down is the first time that I rode an upside down roller coaster. That was pretty scary. So the story behind this is I went to Six Flags with my old youth group, not the one that I attend now, but my old one. It was me, my best friend who's like my little brother, and my crush at the time, and the two youth leaders, and then this other kid who I kind of knew but kind of didn't know also. So my two friends, my crush and my friend that was like my little brother, and one of the youth leaders were going on this ride. I forget what, I think it was called the Rapture or something like that. And they were all encouraging me to come on it, because they were like, you should get on it, you'll love it. And I did get on it, and not only was it my first upside down roller coaster, but it was also my first stand up roller coaster, and it was pretty hardcore. But I actually really enjoyed it once I actually rode it. The only real fear in the moment was that I was going to get sick, because I was, like, after I got off, I was like, oh. But I was fine. So the only real fear in that moment was, there's this big scary roller coaster, and I've never ridden one upside down before. And yeah. Along similar lines with that, the only time I rode, the first time I went to Walt Disney World when I was like 6 or 7, a lot of scary stuff happened to me when I was 6 or 7. I'm just now realizing it. Anyway, my first ride on Snow White's Scary Adventure. Now, if memory serves them, from what I've told from different YouTubers online who, are like Disney World like experts and stuff, from what I gather, I think the version of Snow White's Scary Adventure that I rode, I think it was actually the original version that is like the scariest version at Disney World. So, because I know that the first time I went to Disney World, it was back when they still had like Toontown all set up, and like you could go in Mickey and Minnie's house and stuff. So I'm pretty sure the version that I rode of Snow White's Scary Adventure was the original one. So yeah. So I won't go into huge amounts of details as to why the ride is super scary, because I've seen multiple videos of multiple people talking about it and like the differences between it and the Disneyland rides before. So just check out those people, because they have way more information that I could possibly give. So yeah. Okay. This is another story that I wrote down that I don't really want to go in super in depth to, but again, I think it happened when I was like 6 or 7. Basically, I just got separated I got lost at this event that me and my family went to, but luckily I found like this family that knew me and knew my parents, so they were able to help me find my parents. So yeah, I didn't want to go into too depth of that just because. Okay, forgetting my lines once in a church Christmas play that was petrifying. Yeah. I actually think I'll go into deep depth with this. Okay, so I love doing my church's Christmas plays each year, and one year I actually got like not the lead role but the like message role. Like, this was the character that was going to give the message at the end. It was a really important role, and I forgot my lines at like the point where I'm like giving the whole message and stuff, and I just was petrified. I did recover and was able to like, you know, get the show going again, but it really just scared me and kind of kept me from, you know, doing stuff on stage in a huge role for a while. Okay, this one is a story that I have to go into detail about. So, a couple of years ago, me and my family went down to Florida to do several different things, and one of them was to go to this air show that my dad was really looking forward to. So we went to this air show, and it was like on this huge like parking lot, like it was all cement and stuff, and we're in Florida, so it's already hot as can be, or as imagined. And then we're on black concrete, like for the majority of walking around at this air show, so it's just like that much hotter. So I'd say half of the fault for me getting dehydrated is on myself, and the other half is on the people that set up this air show, because they did not have like, they didn't take into account the Florida weather and stuff. Like, there was only water at like, Hornworks, try the lights. Like, there was only water at like the very front of the air show, and it was like $2 a bottle, which I get it, you're trying to raise money so that you can do stuff like this, but still, it's like super hot in here. You shouldn't make buying water or getting access to water something really hard to do, or something like that. So we keep having to walk back and forth from the area where the air show is to where the water is, and to make a long story short, I get super dehydrated. We find the first aid tent, and come to find out that actually a couple of other of my family members were a little bit dehydrated too, but not to the length that I was. I was like super dehydrated, which I'm really bad about drinking water as it is, on that note. But the way this air show was set up, it was like they didn't want you to drink water, because like, you know, bottled water was like $2, and it was only near like the front of the air show. So yeah, so we get to the first aid thing. They ask us questions, were you drinking water? And we were like, yeah, we're doing our best. So they take so they give me some water, give me some actually no, we had bought like Powerade or something, and I'm sitting there on like the bed. Luckily they have air conditioning in like the first aid area, so it wasn't that hot in there, so good. So that was good. So I'm sipping the I forget if it was Gatorade or Powerade, but in my head I'm seeing it as blue, so I'm thinking Powerade. But anyway, I'm sipping it, and it seems to stay down for a while, but after a while I got sick, and then they were like, okay, you're clearly really dehydrated, we're gonna have to stick this needle in you. And they had to put it in the vein, which I don't mind telling you guys that my skin is practically see-through most of the time. So usually my veins are pretty easy to spot. Like, there's one, there's one, there's one. Okay. But apparently the person at the first aid tent or building or whatever you want to call it had to stab me like 3 times to find a vein. So, yeah. Twice it was like up here, and when it was like closer to my wrist. So yeah, that wasn't a fun experience at all. Then they gave me the stuff that made me like drowsy, and they said that I would fall asleep, but I didn't. I did not fall asleep. I came very close, but I did not, because I guess it's just like the night owl in me, never falling asleep when I should. It's like that little comedy bit I remember from a tape that my dad had once upon a time, but it was like, they gave me doses of awake, it put me to sleep. Anyway, so we wait a while, make sure it's doing its thing. It does, and by the time that we left the venue, it was dark, and we actually had plans to go to Animal Kingdom the next day. Wait, no, not Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom was the day after, like 2 days after, when I got dehydrated. But we did go to Downtown Disney the day after I got dehydrated, and we were very careful to drink water, I can tell you that. So yeah, that taught all of us a good lesson about dehydration is not fun. Make sure you always have a lot of water with you. So yeah, that was kind of a long story. Sorry about that. Sorry that I made that so long-winded. But these next few are like really short stories. First time on a zip line, that was also at an airplane like venue thing in Florida. Basically the only fear of that was like falling, because you know automatically your brain is going to tell you, you know, you only have this dinky little string. Well, it's not a dinky little string, but you know, when you see this harness, you're just like, oh, this rope is supposed to save my life, and you know, it's really scary. But after I saw that, like, I could sit down on the harness and be like, okay, I was like pretty fine with the whole zip line thing. Actually, there was an obstacle course too, and I'd have to say that the obstacle course was probably more frightening than the actual zip line, because with the obstacle course, there's like all these different points where you could possibly slip and fall, which luckily I didn't, but that was a very evident fear. So yeah. This one is just in general. The top of the highest like log flume hills, like you know how log fumes have like little smaller hills, and then they have this one ginormous mountain. Yeah, always get scared when you're about to go when I'm about to go over those. So yeah. What else? These last two ones are similar medical things. Okay, so you're not going to be able to see real well because the lighting here is terrible. But wait, hold on. Can I just like hold this? Okay. I'm trying to get in better lighting so you can see. Okay. Like this tooth right here, it wasn't it wasn't like the baby tooth that was here, it wasn't coming out, and then the tooth that was under it was like stuck, it wasn't pushing the baby tooth down. So basically they said, we're gonna have to pull that tooth, and I was like, nah, because you know nobody wants to get a tooth pulled. So I actually like worked really hard and actually like wriggled it, got the roots, you know, to where they needed to be, and the little tooth came out. So probably was a bit too liberate with that than I should have been. Probably just should have braved up and let the dentist do it, but I did it myself, so there. But I still had to get like a surgery done to get the tooth from up here pulled down, and that was scary. I had my eyes closed like the entire time and just like memorized My Little Pony lyrics in my head, and probably broke some of my mom's fingers gripping them so hard. But the scariest part was when they had to take the stitches out so that the tooth could just like form gums on its own, because they did not give me enough nummy stuff, like the stuff to numb up my gums so I don't feel anything. They did not let that do its thing long enough, so I felt every little pull that they did. And the lady who was doing it, she was super nice before, but I guess she was having a bad day that day or something, because she's going to pull the threads, and I'm like, "Arr!" And she's like, it's not hurting, what's your problem? And I was like, it is hurting, it's my gums, I think I know. Like, I was thinking that in my head. I would never say that to a dentist, because goodness knows what they would do to me. And then my gums got super sore after that. My gums are getting sore just thinking about it. So, yeah. And then the last one, and by far the scariest experience that I have ever had, is getting an ear infection. Getting an ear infection is the worst thing that I have ever experienced. Thank goodness. It basically felt like someone was stabbing me through my ear into my cranium with a sword. The worst, imagine the worst headache that you have ever had in your ear times 1,000. That's an ear infection. It is the worst thing ever. Like, it's what I imagine a real life brain explosion feels like. It felt like somebody took one of those slugs from Star Trek, and you know, the ones that like crawl in your ear and like eat your brain or something. I forget if that's from one of the movies or the actual show, but it felt like that, and it was terrifying. So never get an ear infection ever. Always dry off your ears after your showers and water play and stuff like that. So those are the most terrifying moments of my life that actually happened in my real life and not just dreams, because I've already told you guys about some of my scariest dreams, and if you haven't checked out those videos yet, you should, because they're terrifying and I really open up to you guys, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. Don't know what that was.